Welcome to the Catching Up with Casey show. If you are tired of chasing buy-in, frustrated with teams who can't seem to get on the same page, or over the constant struggle of holding people accountable without micromanaging, this is the show for you. I'm Casey Watts, speaker, author, and the creator of the Clarity Cycle Framework. I help leaders just like you take teams from frustration to alignment so teams can work collectively toward a common purpose in a committed way instead of against each other as though they are functioning in different organizations. And we do it all through the craft of clarity. Whether you lead from the middle or you are the front-facing leader of your organization, on this show, we bring clarity to the seemingly small things in leadership that make the biggest difference, because clarity precedes capacity. Now, with all of that said, let's dive into today's episode. Hey everybody, welcome to today's episode. In today's episode, we are bringing clarity to this thing called Overwhelm. And the title of the episode is Overwhelm is Lying to You: How to Gain Clarity in the Midst of Those Lies. Now, I don't know where you are in your current reality. I don't know what your current reality is, what your situations are. All I know is that just a few days ago, I found myself feeling overwhelmed, and I recalled the many times that I started like the school year, either at home or at work as an educator, where I started the year feeling overwhelmed. So it could happen in your personal life, it could happen in your work life. Chances are, a lot of the times, it's going to happen in both situations, and sometimes the two go hand in hand. And I was reminded the other day when I was feeling this sense of overwhelm that I'm going to tell you all about here in just a little bit. I was reminded of this strategy that a recent speaking coach did with me, an exercise that she took me through to help me kind of reframe some thoughts that I had had about the world of speaking and myself as a speaker. And it was one of the most fantastic strategies I've learned, so much so that I've taken it into my Reflective Leaders Institute, where I teach leaders how to gain clarity about their identity. So essentially, they learn the deep root of who they are, their core values, gain self-awareness, social awareness, and also self-management. And so part of that now is, how do we reframe our mindsets when we start feeling these things that really help us to not move forward at all? They keep us stuck. So let me tell you, first of all, the person who recommended this exercise and did this exercise with me is my speaking coach. Her name is, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? I knew this was going to happen. Does this ever happen to you guys where you're talking and then all of a sudden you have to say a name and it's like you blank? And this can happen. I'm not kidding. It's a kind of a problem for me. I have these situations where I will be like, it's people that I know, people that I've known for years. And I know I'm totally off on a tangent, but I think you guys are going to understand this. But it's like you blank on different things. And I don't know why that is. Like, what causes that? What causes those brain farts, as my kids would say? Okay, I figured out the name, and I didn't even have to finish looking it up. So sorry, Gina, you're about to hear this and be like, really? She can't remember my name? That was not really, that must not have been a powerful relationship, but it absolutely was. And that's the whole reason I'm having this episode tonight. So Gina Rappaport, who was my speaking coach, she is part of Boston Speaks. And this strategy I'm going to be sharing with you guys is completely from her, and it is fantastic. But first, let me tell you the situation that made me think to record this episode in the first place. Now, remember, this podcast is all about bringing clarity to the seemingly small things in leadership that make the biggest difference. And when you think about overwhelm, It can happen again, I've already said this, but it can happen both in your personal life or at work. If you are leading or you are aspiring to lead, you know that there are going to be times where you feel a great sense of overwhelm because there are so many different people coming at you with so many different things and many decisions that have to be made, both small and big. And tonight, as we're talking through this, really the goal is for you to figure out what is a strategy, a go to strategy you can use in the moment and practice over time so that it becomes habit that's going to help you to release some of that overwhelm and replace some of your negative thoughts with at least neutral thoughts that are going to help you to move to make progress. Okay. So here's the situation for me. It's a busy time of the year for everybody. With school starting, it's just so hectic, both in and outside of work. But we have some additional things going on. It's just that season of life. So we have our two boys are going back to school. One of them has started school, one of them hasn't yet. And so it's kind of like we're in that weird, not everybody has gone back to school yet situation. And then our oldest, our daughter, is going to college this week. We are moving her to college this Wednesday, and it's all very exciting. Now, on top of that, my husband has been out of town for his job, and I have recently been out of town consulting with a school up in Wisconsin. I live in Texas. And so we've got all of these things going on. And when we leave this Wednesday to take her to college, my parents are going to be coming in and taking care of the house, the dogs, and making sure our two boys get where they need to go just for a couple of days. And I know it probably doesn't sound that overwhelming, but if you were to look at my house, even looking at my bedroom right now, we have some piles of clothes on the floor. The bed is unmade. I've got some sheets over here. I think they're clean, but why are they folded in a chair and not put away? Are we waiting to put them on the bed? Who knows? I've got some pillows on the floor and my desk is a whole different situation. But really, because we've been traveling so much and because we're packing her up to get her ready to go to college and the boys are here, there, and everywhere, it has created like every room in our house looks like what I just described to you as my bedroom. And I know parents are coming, and I have the best parents ever. They're awesome. They are from the working generation, meaning every second you have, you are working on both either like work or life. And they're from the generation that you I don't wanna say that I don't wanna make a blanket statement about, generations, but I think a lot of you will, understand what I'm saying. They're from the generation that everything is taken care of efficiently, and everything is taken care of with great detail, okay? And that's both of my parents, and I know that that's a little bit of, their personality as well. Our personality is a little bit different. So, my husband and I, neither of us have the gift of tenacity. It's hard for us to stay on top of things and get things done. I mean, just that alone is hard for us, but when you add on top of that our jobs that require travel, plus 3 kids, plus we're trying to get them to school, it's when we get home, we just want to take a moment to decompress. And we will still get things done, but there's still so much that needs to be done. And so I'm starting to feel overwhelmed because I know parents are coming and I've got to get this house under control. I've got to clean it up before they get here. And it has to be to a certain standard. So this is the text that I sent my husband, and this happened. I'm not gonna lie. This happens every couple of months, where I get to this point of overwhelm because it just feels like there's too much to do. So here's the text that I sent him, being so vulnerable with you guys in sharing this. But I'm thinking you probably have felt this way before, either at home or in your work life. So here's the text. I said, and this is Saturday morning. FYI, I'm feeling overwhelmed and sad this morning. One of those situations where I'd like to walk away from this house and move into a tiny home. If mom and dad weren't coming and we weren't leaving in a couple of days, it wouldn't be so bad. It just feels like too much to get done on top of some thick paperwork I absolutely have to finish before we leave. Sorry ahead of time. I might be crabby and bossy today or paralyzed by overwhelm and want to do nothing. Now, please, if this sounds anything like you, I would love for you to leave a comment on the podcast show or in YouTube or LinkedIn. We feel this way. I think everyone has this sense of overwhelm every now and then. I think back to being in schools where leaders have one thing after another to do, or people who are facilitating teams, one thing after another. And sometimes it can feel like you get to a point where it's just, I'm paralyzed by the decisions that I have to make and the things that I have to do. So here's what we're going to do to combat that. Here's how we're going to gain clarity in the midst of the lies that tend to produce when you are feeling overwhelmed. We are going to attempt to reframe our mindset. Okay. So here's how it works. When you are reframing your mindset, a lot of people try to go from this disempowered feeling all the way up to empowered. And Gina, my speaking coach, kind of explained it this way. So you imagine a ladder, and at the bottom of the ladder, the bottom rung, this is where you feel disempowered. So that's how I was feeling Saturday morning. And then at the top of the ladder is the feeling of empowerment. And the story that she shared with me was so striking that I'm not going to try to share another story. I'm just going to use the one that she described to me. But imagine that a woman is standing in front of a mirror, and she's in a swimsuit. She's in her 30s, maybe 40s, and she's looking at the mirror. And at the moment, she's feeling disempowered. She is maybe saying things like, wow, I don't have the body I used to have. I don't feel beautiful. She may even think, I'm feeling ugly, right? All of those things. Maybe she's had a C-section and she's got scars. Like we don't know the full situation, but we know that those are the thoughts that could be running in through her mind. It can be easy for us to try to move directly up to the top of the ladder, that empowered state, but with positive affirmations. I'm not discrediting positive affirmations. However, you have to believe those positive affirmations. And if we try to go from bottom of the rung to top of the rung, chances are it's going to be really hard for us to believe those positive affirmation statements. So she could go from bottom of the rung to top of the rung and say, I am beautiful. I love who I am. I love my body, all kinds of things like that. But does she really believe those things? Maybe not. And it would be really hard to get to that point. And so, what we want to try to do instead is just neutralize the thoughts that we have in the situations that we're in. Okay. I want to show you how to do that. Okay. So, when I'm going to show my screen, if you are listening to the podcast, you're not going to be able to see the screen, but I'm going to describe it to you. And if you want to go to LinkedIn or YouTube to see this recording, absolutely check that out. I'll try to remember to put that in the show notes. So here is what Gina has described to me. You take your situation and you list the thoughts that are attached to that situation, and then you list the feelings that are attached to the thoughts. Okay, so I want to describe my situation again. My situation is I'm getting the house organized, clean, and ready before my parents come to stay. I'm also trying to get some work finished before we take our daughter Haley to college. Here are all of the thoughts that come with that situation. Now, these are my disempowered thoughts. You ready? Because it's pretty open. Just point blank. Here's what they are. There's too much to do. We'll never get it done. I'm so tired. I wish we'd bought a smaller house. Why don't we keep up with cleaning? They're going to judge us. I don't want to do anything. I'm falling behind in work. Clients will notice I'm not as attentive as I usually am, or I'm scattered, right? All of these thoughts are fluttering through my mind. Now, I could jump from those thoughts to empowered at the top of the rung. I could say, no, I have an awesome house, and we can be really clean, and I can't see, it's hard for me to come up with those positive affirmations because I'm not great at it, but you get the idea, right? Like, you could go from bottom of the rung to top, but I don't believe those things. What are the feelings attached to these thoughts that I do have, though? Well, like I've already said, overwhelmed. But here are some additional thoughts or feelings: anxious, I'm feeling anxiety, I'm feeling guilty, I'm feeling regretful. These are some feelings that are attached to those thoughts that I just shared with you. And the thing about it is, these thoughts that I currently had and the feelings that were attached to them, they do nothing to help me make progress. They do nothing to help me move forward. So I know, even though it's difficult in the moment, I need to reframe. When we reframe, we are neutralizing our thoughts. Our situation doesn't really change. Our feelings may not change that much, but our thoughts can change. So let me show you how I have neutralized them. Let's take all of those thoughts that I had. I like to categorize, so I color code mine just to see what goes together and how can I neutralize those into like one better statement, or neutral statement. So here's what I said. Yes, there is a lot to do, and yes, I am tired, but I can do one thing at a time, starting with the essential things that help me to feel productive. And everyone in the house can help, right? So I can assign all of these things. Then, in terms of, or in connection to the previous statement, so the other thought I was having was, I wish we'd bought a smaller house. Why don't we keep up with cleaning? My parents are going to judge us. Okay, so here's the neutralized version of that. We have the house that we have. Like, that's a fact. It is a blessing, and it serves a purpose, maybe beyond what I can see right now. And yeah, I might be judged, but that's out of my control. And I can also be honest with my parents and ask for help, right? So you'll notice my situation hasn't changed. My feelings may not change that much, but my thoughts can change, and it alters the whole situation. I might still feel a little overwhelmed, but going through this process and changing my thoughts allows me to be more productive. It allows me to move forward instead of feeling stuck and not wanting to do anything. So here's my challenge to you. As you think about work and life, as you think about leadership, and you get into those unwanted situations that are causing negative feelings and causing some negative thoughts that you can't quite shake, try this strategy of reframing. Think about how you can reframe your thoughts and claim a way to move forward. That's my challenge to you. Now, I have something for you. If you are interested in I have a document that shares, it's just a quick PDF that you can download, and it shares, I'm going to actually tag it in the show notes. It shares the way that you can reframe. So it shares this whole process, but it also shares statements that you might, like sentence stems that you might use to help you go from disempowered to neutral instead of directly from disempowered to empowered. Okay. So if you don't see that in the show notes, or you're listening to this and you're like, okay, I want that document, but I'm going to email Casey. I want you to email me. Email me at casey@clarity-driven.com, and I will email it back to you. Better yet, if you are not part of the newsletter, if you haven't subscribed, I challenge you to do that as well. Because here's the thing about the newsletter. Every week, I send out a newsletter, and it is all about how to lead clarity-driven teams. So if I'm mentioning something in a podcast, like the document that I just shared with you or this strategy, it's going to come to you in a newsletter and it's going to have something for you to download, something for you to try out. It is always going to be a how to. And then once a month, I have a newsletter that just shares resources, recommendations, and kind of an update about events that you might be interested in. Okay, so I would love to connect with you guys. Would love to know what was most useful for you in this episode. If you want to pop that into the comments, and definitely check out the show notes so you can see how you and I can work together moving forward. All right, with that, I will catch you guys in the next episode. Bye, everyone. Hey, listener, I am so honored that you listened to today's episode, and I hope you gained something valuable from it. I'd also be honored if you did me 3 solid favors. First, subscribe to this show. I've got a lot of great content coming up, and I don't want you to miss any of it. Second, be sure you're following me on social media platforms. You can find me at Catch Up with Casey on LinkedIn or Instagram. And finally, if you are looking to book a dynamic and relatable speaker for your next event, conference, or retreat, I would love to bring a message about how the craft of clarity makes a significant impact on both leadership and life. Until next time, always remember, clarity precedes capacity.